When it comes to your BMX racing, we always look at ways to get faster around the track. Improving track speed, would that be helpful? Well, in this video, I'm going to teach you how to figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are and how to integrate them into your training so you could turn out faster laps. Let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on, guys? Well, I'm getting feedback. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another Monday night edition of BMX Coach Live. I am your host, three-time Olympic coach Greg Romero, and I'm here to help you guys thrive, experience your potential, and sustain it when it comes to your BMX racing and training performance. Tonight, we have an awesome show. We're going to be talking about track speed. Would you guys find that helpful? Would that be helpful if you guys found more track speed in your racing? Let's go to the chat and see what's going on. Roscoe H says, hi all, Connor, Nyland, JP, Anthony, Sean A, Cody, Ashton, Jacob James, hello, Jason Chang, aloha. Man, all the usuals are showing up. Thank you guys so much. I'm grateful for you guys to show up every Monday. And, you know, you guys are committed just as much as I am. And that gives me more energy to recommit to you guys and our sport. As you guys know, we do this in an effort to help out our newer and younger riders of our sport. And that way we can get people to enjoy the sport more. And when they enjoy the sport more, they last longer. When they last longer, our sport grows. So why not help the guys that are already in the sport now? You know, when it comes to business, it's funny. We tend to think about, you know, I used to own and run a gym back in the day, and we used to focus on getting more clients, getting more people through the door. And that seems to be a problem in BMX right now. It's like, let's get more people on bikes. Let's get more people to track. I think that's great. And I think that we need to help out the current people that we have that have bikes, that have memberships, that are showing up to the local tracks and helping out people in our own communities, our local community, just like how we have this global community of people showing up. You guys, it's your guys' responsibility to continuously share the wealth, inspire and motivate others. I'm here for you guys so you guys can help out others as well. All right. So again, if you guys can, make sure you guys share this video. Also, if you guys are watching this on the replay, make sure that you guys not only like and comment in the video and participate, but also subscribe to the channel, and that way you guys get notified. Also, hit the bell notification so you guys get notified when I go live or when I post. All right, cool. Looks like a lot more people are coming in. We have quite a few people coming in on a Monday night. I appreciate you guys. Chris Childs, David Fernandez, Apex Dynamic Duo. Here's CJ. I'm saying their YouTube handle, so not everyone runs their first and last name. Everyone has some kind of avatar, if you will. Andrew C, Odin Turner, Jose, Aiden Pearson, Joey Urito. Guys, if we haven't met, I'm so grateful for you guys to show up. And yeah, I say, you know what? Let's get on with the show. As always, when it comes to the show, I usually pick a topic like we talked about. We talked about how your track speed sucks and how we're going to improve it and giving you 3 things. We're going to go through that. And at the same time, the audience that's live, they're going to ask me questions. And as soon as I'm done with my presentation, I'm going to go ahead and go through my favorite section, which is Ask Coach G. I'm going to go ahead and answer these guys live. It's just like a global clinic, right? Like, you know, you guys are showing up and, you know, it's a Monday night and, you know, it's a clinic, right? We're putting on a clinic and you guys are here to ask questions. I'm here to do my best to answer them. Now, as we shall we proceed? Let me get a drink of water. Again, so, you know, when it comes to track speed, I always often get asked, hey coach, how can I improve my track speed? And man, you know, my brain, it just wants to start jumping in all these different areas. Like, you should do this. And we're all really good, right? Like, every one of us are really good about giving advice. And usually the advice that we give is really a deletion. It's really a model of our own world. We're really projecting what worked for us, and therefore we tend to think that what worked for us is going to work for you. Now, as a coach, I can't presuppose what worked for me is going to work for you, because Number one, I don't know you. I don't know your track style. I don't know your riding style. And more importantly, I don't know your absolute needs. I don't know your strengths nor your weaknesses. So when you guys ask me questions, you guys got to give me more context. And so in this video, I'm going to give you more of a buffet, if you will, like of different things that you guys could take to the track, and you guys can pick and choose, and you guys can determine as your own personal coach to yourself what you guys need to work on based on your strengths and your weaknesses. And if it's like, well, you know what, I'm weak at this, Coach G said to do this, well, I'm going to try that. And I think that would be great. And really at the end of the day, that's all I'm trying to do with these videos here. So 3 ways to improve track speed. Again, it comes down to you guys figuring out what your strengths, what your weaknesses are, but you may not know that. So let's just go ahead and talk about the 3. Number 1, it's going to come down to skills. Okay. Skills is going to be really important. All right. Number 2, it's going to be fitness. Fitness is really important. Number 3 is power, right? Like power from the gate all the way to the first jump, all the way to the finish line. If you guys have good power, then you're going to improve your track speed. So those are the main 3. And if you guys stick around, I have a bonus one. I have a 4th one that I'm holding here that I'm going to give you guys at the end. And if you guys stick around, you guys might be able to benefit from this one as well. All right. The live chat's going. If you guys are watching on the replay, make sure you guys hit the tab where it says live chat. It's usually, if you're watching through your phone, it's right there in the middle underneath right here, live chat. If you're on the web, I don't know where it's at. It's probably just over off to the left, I believe. Shall we? Number 1, skill work. Listen, if you guys work on your skills, right, then by default, if you guys are gonna go from, incompetence to competence, but more importantly, getting to unconscious competence when it comes to not only your gates, but more importantly, your jumping, your manualing, your pumping, your pickup manuals, your pedal manuals. Those are your more advanced skills. And even your turning technique. If you guys, your rhythm sections, right? Your jumping, your tap manuals. I mean, I just named like 10 of them. But if you guys could work on each one of those individually and get them up to where you're at least competent, right? You're competent with each skill. If you guys improve on any of those 10 areas, right? Just a little bit, like 1% on each one, that's a 10% gain overall, right? Just by getting these marginal gains of all these different areas that you can improve on. So again, if you guys could identify with what it is that's holding you back, maybe you take a piece of paper and you write down what I'm strong at and what I'm weak at. Or if you don't like what I'm weak at, maybe you could say what I'd like to improve more upon, right? And you may find it interesting what you may discover about your weaknesses or your strengths. And so, the way I do it for myself back in the day when I used to overthink as a pro, figuring out ways to make the main, and because back then racing pro, man, there was a lot of competition, man. Today it's weird. It just seems like there's like 2 or 3 people winning, and then everyone else is just off the back. But back then, you seriously, you had different winners every week. It was really, really deep back in the day when I was pro. And so being human, I would always compare myself to the guys that were winning. What are they strong at? What are they weak at? And I would identify that, and I would be like, okay, well, what am I strong at? What am I weak at? If their strength is my weaknesses, then my weakness, then I need to work on that. If there's a guy, I always bring this guy up, but he won a lot of races. His name was Christophe Levesque, and actually he is the owner and founder of Chase Bicycles. We went head to head and butted heads quite a bit, and a great guy, right? A great guy both on and off the bike. One of his great strengths was his gait, right? Really strong gait, really strong second, third pedal, lethal. And another one of his weaknesses was his track speed, like his ability to power down the last straight, right, was just unbelievable. It was probably one of the strongest. And, if you got ahead of him, he was going to pass you down the last straight. And in an effort to compete with him, not only did you have to have a good gait and really strong acceleration, second, third pedal, but you needed to have a really, really strong last straight to compete with this guy. So, being the guy that I was in terms of like being hungry and wanting to compete for wins, right? I would presuppose most of you guys want to compete for wins. If not, you got immediate and you want to move to expert, you have to win some races in an effort to move to expert. So, everything I'm saying is totally applicable here. So, what I would do is I knew I had a good gait. I knew I had a good, strong first straight, but I had to work on that last straight. So I worked on it. I made that weakness a strength. All right. I made that weakness a strength. And so, again, when it comes to your skills, you need to identify it. One of the things that I had troubles with was doing pickup manuals. Let me click off one of these windows that popped up on my computer over here. Yeah, remind me later. I don't need to update now. I'm live. Doing pickup manuals was really, really hard for me, right? Like, I made it a strength. I worked on bunny hops. I worked on picking up for everything and anything at my local track. And I got it to where I could do it without thinking. I mastered the skill. And so every single one of you guys that are watching, if you guys can identify what those weaknesses are, if you guys care, if you guys absolutely care about the skill, then you guys will master it. It's funny. I was talking to a guy the other day. I was on a road bike ride with, a few guys, and we were talking about skills. And I mentioned to him, I think we were talking about a guy that was really, really, really strong at sprinting road bikes. And I'm like, he's only, I was like, dude, you could be really good at sprinting on road bikes too, if you cared about it, right? This other guy, he was good at sprinting on road bikes because he cares about the skill. And that's not to say that you guys don't care, but truly, if you guys care, right? If you guys put in the care and you guys put in the work, put in the attention, and more importantly, be consistent week in, week out. Every time you go to the track, be committed, recommit, and be consistent every week, and go deep into those skills that are your weaknesses. You're going to make it. It cannot happen that it's going to become something that you guys master. So again, when it comes to your skills, when it comes to track speed, work on your jumping, work on your manualing. If you guys are already good at that, work on more advanced skills such as staying low while you jump, tap manuals, pickup manuals, pedal manuals, right? You never know when a pedal manual is going to come in handy if you guys want to beat this guy that's just doing it and it's the only thing that's holding you back. You're going to need that tool. You're going to need to pull that out of your back pocket and make it work for you. So work on your track skills. All right. Cool. The next one. Ooh, let's make this one bigger. Let's make it pop. Boom. You guys like that? Skills. Fitness. All right. Fitness, man. Fitness is a big, big deal. It's one thing to have skills, but it's another thing to be fit. Fit meaning, do you have the engine? Do you have the anaerobic capacity to go all out from the gate all the way down to the finishing line? Okay. Now, what does that mean? Well, fitness in BMX, it's pretty much muscular endurance. We're anaerobic. People tend to think, oh, I need more endurance, right? Like I need more endurance. And then they start thinking and they start asking people, I need more endurance. Okay, well then go ride a road bike and go do a 2-hour road ride or go run for 20, 30 minutes. Okay, well, that's great. That's endurance, but that's not specific as it pertains to BMX racing, which is an anaerobic, all out power, anaerobic, metabolic sport, right? So, at the end of the day, training specific will give you specific results. And so when it comes to improving your track speed, fitness, working on muscular endurance, things like broken interval sprints. If you guys check on this channel, there is a quarantine challenge. We call it the quarantine challenge because it's indoor training. And at the time, a lot of the tracks across the globe were locked up. And so a lot of us, and then they were saying, oh, you can't go outside and we need to be at home. But now we realize being outdoors is okay. And but there is a quarantine challenge. If you guys do that, I think it's like 30 minutes long. you're not doing 30 minutes of worth of work, but you're working on your muscular endurance. You're working on your ability to recover in between efforts, right? And at the same time, you're working on the leg burn and your ability to metabolize anaerobic energy, okay? And so broken interval sprints. And then also when you guys go to the track, you know, a lot of us have the bad habit, and it's an unconscious thing, right? It's a cultural thing. We show up to the track and we're doing gates. The gates are dropping. So we're focusing on gates and we're going to the first turn and racing whoever's in the gate to the first turn. And then we tend to shut it down. And then we coast all the way back to the back of the finish line. I'm sorry, you coast all the way to the finish line and then, you know, back up to the starting gate. Talk to a few buddies. You guys kind of BS around and then you guys get in the gate and you do it again. And I think while that's great, but I think you need to add some structure, especially if you guys care. If you guys care about your track speed, then you guys got to work on your track speed. Work going from the gate all the way to the second turn or perhaps the third turn or the finish line. Doing half lap intervals, doing 3/4 lap intervals, doing full lap intervals. Okay? All that stuff really matters. Now, here's the good news. You guys don't have to do a whole lot of them. It doesn't take a whole lot of volume of work. You know, start with a handful. Start with 5 half laps and see how that goes. And you may find that it's going to be really hard. You're going to be really fatigued maybe after the second or third one. And what you're doing is you're basically teaching your body to metabolize anaerobic power or anaerobic fuel. I'm giving you guys layman terms. I'm sure there's lots of personal trainers and strength coaches that will come on here. Listen, I'm making it for the everyday BMXer that doesn't care about the big jargon for it to make sense for you guys. But at the end of the day, that's what's important, right? Doing specific work. Specificity is what matters. Going out there and doing a few jumps, a few manuals, a few gates. Listen, I think that's okay, right? But it's kind of a mixed bag of things, and I'm going to give you mixed results. Okay? A mixed training session is going to give you mixed results. So go out to the track with intent. And if your intent is to win more races, if your intent is to have more track speed, then do structured workouts that will enhance your track speed. All right? Also, in terms of the broken intervals, you guys don't have to do that on a stationary bike. You guys can do that on your BMX bike in a bicycle-friendly area, of course. Wear a helmet, bring a buddy, have supervision, be smart, be safe. Can we talk about power development and how it affects and enhances your track speed? Okay. Listen, at the end of the day, the more powerful you are, right? The more powerful you are, the more track speed you're going to have. Okay. When you're more powerful, especially out of the gate down to, down the first straight into the first corner, you're going to be riding the front of the pack. And when you're riding the front of the pack, you're going to be more efficient because you don't have to fight traffic. And there's not a whole lot of stop and go and taking, not so ideal lines in the turns, right? So that's one benefit of being more powerful. But when you're more powerful in the beginning, certainly you're going to be more powerful coming out of the corners. You're going to be more powerful coming off of the backsides of jumps. The more powerful, you're going to be more powerful conceivably coming out of the turns. All right? Excuse me, my eye was itchy. The more power you have, the more track speed you're going to have. Obviously, the more faster you are from the gate to the first turn, your track times are going to decrease. Now, I had a guy that was just the opposite. In fact, he got a silver medal at the Olympic Games, but his name was Mike Day. Really, really awesome rider in terms of skills, unbelievable track speed. Track speed was not his weakness. It was certainly a strength. And he was okay when it came to time trials, right? It was okay when it came to time trials. But when we started to develop strength and increase power, and he was able to get out of the gate and compete with other riders, he could not lose a time trial. He would win a time trial at Supercross races, at these World Cups, with his eyes closed. Okay, well, he had his eyes open for sure. But what I'm saying is that The more power you have, the more faster you are, the lower times you're going to get, right? All right. So it cannot happen. Cool. We're breezing right through this. The chat is happening. Oh, I talked about the bonus strategy, didn't we? Bonus strategy. All right. Here we go. Bonus strategy. Now, when it comes to track speed, I would say, one of my favorite things that I used to do, especially when I was a pro and I would show up and watch pro practice, or I would watch other racers, in motos in front of me or motos behind me, I would always pay attention to see where guys were pedaling or where they weren't pedaling. One of the easiest ways to find people that were kind of asleep at the wheel was entering into the corner. They would coast right into the corner. Was there an opportunity for me to grab an extra pedal, right? Or a half pedal? Is there an opportunity for me to pedal early coming out of the corner, right? So I would watch other riders. More importantly, I would also always count. It was always a bad habit. And I would do this when I used to travel with my Olympic athletes to these World Cups. I would always count how many pedals it was to the first jump. Whether you started right-footed and jump left, or start right-footed and jump right, or started left, jump right, whatever, right? Like, I used to start right and jump left-footed. That's actually a good question in the chat. How many of you guys actually start right and jump right? Is there anybody like me? Do you guys jump the opposite foot that you start with? For me, I start right-footed but jump left-footed. I would count how many pedals it was to the first jump, and I would see if anyone was not maximizing that. Also, there was tracks where, the first jump was like a roller, right? And so was there a faster way for me to take that roller, right? Today, there's not a whole lot of first jumps with a roller, but is my feed going? I'm getting a little yellow flag. Error. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience... Okay. Well, please forgive me. It looks like the stream is like locking up. If it locks up, then I'm going to have to restart. All right, well, I'm going to keep going. I'm just double checking. All right, so what I was saying is that, all right, everything's back to green. Man, please forgive me. 6 o'clock over here in San Diego, man, our internet service provider is not that great. Everyone's on the internet. I actually have a landline. I'm actually locked in. I'm not even on Wi-Fi, but that's the first time I got an error. So I got two computers here. Anyways, you guys don't need to hear me about my excuses. Please forgive me. As I was saying, what was I saying? Can someone please remind me? I was talking about grabbing extra pedals, right? Like, okay, I was talking about like first jumps, right? Like finding ways to take the first jump faster, right? And were people just pedaling to it, stop pedaling, and then they would pick up? Or was there anybody that was pedaling through it, picking up and pedaling through it? Little things like that will improve your track speed. Certainly with, finding faster lines through the rhythm section, more advanced stuff, right? Like, how are people taking the jump going to the first corner? I always felt like taking the jump in the first corner was going to dictate how fast you go through the first corner. If you can stay really low on the jump going in the first corner, then, even better. Like if you can manually keep that back wheel on the ground, while it's on the ground, you can actually turn and start moving over as well, which would help your track speed, which would help your strategy. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about it. Cool. Well, looks like, yeah, we're getting a few comments. It's a bit laggy, the stream. And then we're getting a lot of people answering my question about, Carlos Salazar says jump left and right. Jesse says start left, jump left. Dylan says I start right and jump right. A lot of start right, jump right. Let's see. Looking for people that actually do the opposite. Thunder Midget says it's all good, coach. Carry on. Cool. Thank you, guys. Start right, jump right. Roscoe H says that looks like the stream has cleaned up and is working better now. Yes, it is. It's tough, man. It's tough being camera operator, stream operator. Then I got to be your coach, and then I got to, say everything off the top of my dome and be composed and watch you guys in the stream. It's crazy. I love it. It's great. Cool. Oh, now the stream is going to lock up. Hey, listen, guys, let's take a break, and let's get to the Ask Coach G section. And again, if you guys find anything helpful in terms of track speed, leave the comments in below. If you guys are live, let me know what your thoughts are in terms of what you guys are doing in terms of improving your track speed. And if you guys have any ideas, let the community know. If you guys are watching a replay, help our community out. What's working with you when it comes to improving your track speed? All right, let's take a break. And guys in the chat, make sure you ask me your best questions as it pertains to BMX racing and training performance, and I'll be back in a second. Hey guys, I have a question. What would it do for you if you could enhance your power out of the gate, enhance your sprint speed down the first straight, enhance your skills, enhance your mental performance mind state? What would that do for your racing or your kids' racing? If you're seeing the value of enhancing your BMX performance, consider joining the community of BMX Training Pro and get the same access my Olympic athletes have enjoyed, as well as thousands of BMXers all over the world. Some members use the access to improve their gate start techniques. Some also use the access to keep them motivated to train, and you'll find your reason when you gain access and join BMX Training Pro today.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now.
Nitro with the nice flow.
Stay focused, get ready now. For real, get ready now. Let's go. Stay focused, hear the heat come. Concentrate to the sound of the beat drum. Yeah. Start it up, take it back now. Check it out. This is how it's going down. Yeah.
All right, guys. Welcome back to the show. Hope you guys enjoyed that break. We're at the Ask Coach G section of the show. I got about 30 minutes left, and then, I got plans for dinner. I also want to check out the college football game that's happening. It's a national championship. If you guys are watching, don't tell me the score. All right, let's check out the questions in the chat. Let's see. Anything as it pertains to track speed? Hot Rod BMX says, never catch these live. Tonight is the first time. Always watch the replays though. Really appreciate your advice, specifically the mental stuff. I pass it along to my 10X son. We watch it together. Hot Rod, man, this is your opportunity, man. Ask your best question. I'm going to hook you up. Live. We're here live. Andy Lim says, hi, coach. All right, let's see here. Let's see, maybe a comment. I don't know if it's to me or someone in the community. My weakness is, Chad Rodriguez says, my weakness is not being aggressive toward other riders. Not scared to be, but I love to try to win by out pedaling, out pumping, or out sprinting someone, not chopping or blocking them. Okay. If I make, Chad, can I invite you to a quick coaching session with me, if you will, in front of everyone here? I love that. And, that kind of reminds me, and this is probably not you, but it reminds me of an athlete that I used to have. It was a male athlete or a female athlete. I'm not going to say. But at the end of the day, one of their problems was they didn't like to make contact either, right? I had a couple riders, in fact, a male rider and a female rider. They didn't like to make contact. And I would tell them, listen, man, like BMX is a contact sport, and you need to give it hit before you take a hit, because at some point, especially at the pro level, someone's going to come in and blast you. They're going to come in and bump and run. They're going to make contact. BMX is not track and field where we're in these individual lanes, right? Like, we're just not going to be on the outside lane in lane 8, and this person's going to be in lane 1, and we're just going to be taking these lanes like it's like, track and field or even dual slalom and mountain bike racing. Lanes are gone after the 30-foot distance. So be aggressive. There's nothing wrong with that, right? You need to figure out what it is For what purpose do you not want to be aggressive, and address that? But I would say you need to reframe that in a positive direction and say, you know what, I'm going to be aggressive in an effort for me to race out front. I'm going to be aggressive in an effort for me to win the lap. All right. So if you guys have a positive motivator, then being aggressive is actually an okay thing. Being aggressive will actually is a lot more safer than being timid. If you're timid and you start locking up over jumps, dude, you're actually a liability to the rest of the riders on the track. So being aggressive, right? Being aggressive doesn't mean I need to sharpen my elbows and take people out. Certainly, I think it's okay to bump someone. And I certainly think it's okay to bump someone before they bump you. Again, give a hit before you take a hit. But being aggressive actually means being safe, riding out front. And when you're being safe, you're safe for the rest of the pack. You like that? That's great. I certainly love it. Let's see here. Anything as it pertains to track speed? Someone's asking me about fixing bikes. I'm not the best mechanic, man. I've always just taken my bike to the local bike shop, or I've been fortunate enough to have people help me out working on my bikes. Someone's asking me about working on a carbon bike. Please forgive me, that is not my strength. My strength is talking about track speed and how you guys are going to improve it. Sam don't care. He says, this is very random. I just wanted to say, a community of the sport. You're going to find that you're going to love the community at the track. It looks like the feed is locking up. Man, guys, I don't know what's going on, but the feed is just locking up tonight. So I'm going to pay attention to that and make sure I do not talk when the feed locks up. Let's see here. David Fernandez, I can pedal manual and manual far on flat and manual singles, but I can't double. Okay, so like a double manual, is that like manualing twice or manualing through 3 rollers? You know, it's funny, man. I actually, someone commented on an Instagram post of ours where I said it's a double manual, or I said it was a triple manual, right? I was manualing through a triple, so I called it a triple manual. And I'm thinking, well, it's 3 rollers, so I'm manualing through 3 of them. I guess a double manual, but you know, whatever. I mean, tomato. You know, when it comes to manually more than 2 rollers, you just want to focus on keeping the front end up and look where your front end needs to go down. Okay. That's the key. And then when you get through that first part of the manual, when you get to the second roller, then you want to use that energy and drive off the backside and make sure you push through again and commit with your hips, making sure that your hips are back behind the seat and also, you know, near or behind the axle. Okay, here we go. Here's a good one. Jacob James, he has a comment here. The Carmel Valley pump track has an overpopulation of skaters, probably 50 skaters and 1 guy on a dirt jumper. I turned around and sadly went back to the car next time. And the feed is a little bit glitchy. Bummer. Jacob James, man, listen, I'd love to hit you up and meet you out at the Carmel Valley pump track. But I really like the fact that you brought up pump track, because I think that's a really, really good way for you guys to improve your track speed. When it comes to BMX racing, right? Like, we're pedaling, but then we're doing these micro pauses where we have to pump, and doing pump track work, right? Going out to pump tracks and just pumping around is going to improve your track speed by default. It's going to load your legs. It's going to help out that specific muscular endurance of just pumping. That was something that I totally missed in the beginning of the show. Was, if you guys can find a pump track, by all means, if you guys want to use that as an instrument to help you improve your track speed, it's an awesome way to do it. Someone asked, do I have any suggestions on where good pump tracks are? And everyone's different. If you're in San Diego, we have a couple. of pump tracks. We also have a couple bike parks. We're really, really lucky. All right, what's going on here? Yeah, it's glitching, I know. Here we go. Roscoe H says, any tips on maintaining speed over smaller jumps? We have one to over clear and a little sketchy to pump at high speed due to the small size. Ooh, okay. Yeah. I don't know why this thing's glitchy. I swear I paid my internet bill. Yeah, that's a tough one, man. Sometimes you're just going to have to stop pedaling sooner, right? Yeah, it's too small to over clear and too sketchy to pump. Yeah, you might need to get a couple of top BMXers at the track, some local guys, and see if they can make an alteration to the obstacle. Sometimes you just need to do that. All right, Hot Rod BMX says, I pull up the front end as I approach the lip of a jump, and it seems to help me get over it a little more smoothly. Cool. Okay, here we go. Ashton Brown BMX Racing. What are some circumstances where manuals jumps would be better than pumping? Yeah, man. I think at the end of the day, that's a really good one. When you're going too fast, right? When you're going too fast and you can no longer benefit from the pump where the wheels are coming off the ground. Let's say you're going through a pair of doubles and your intent is to pump it, but the front and rear wheels are coming off the ground and by default you're catching air and it's inefficient, then that's when you need to start considering jumping. That's when you need to consider manualing, right? Getting that front wheel up and trying to get through it smoothly. Getting through a jump as smooth as possible, as fast as possible, should be the goal. There's always some goofiness happening in the chat. Jason Chang asks, it's a question. Jason Chang asks, while in the lead, do you prefer to try and run away and gap them, or just go fast enough to control the lines and force them to wait for you to get out of the way? Ooh, that's a really, really great question, Jason. Thank you so much for asking. I think at the end of the day, yes, you have to know the competition, right? You have to know the competition. If it's some savvy, right? Like I used to race a guy by the name of Brian Foster who had unbelievable track speed, and no matter how much I try to outpower him, he was always going to be there. So I had to get into strategy savvy mode, right? I had to take really, really smart lines. I knew he was going to throw his best strategies to pass me through the rhythm sections and through the turns. So I was always very, very strategic in terms of when I came out of the turn, which side of the road was I going to be on? Was I going to cover the inside? So, one of the tricks I used to do, because, and you guys could do this too, and a lot of my athletes do this, when you come out of the first turn in the lead, you could stay high and then pick one side of the road, right? You're going to be set up on the inside of the next turn, but what you could do is you could show them, hey, I'm covering the inside, right? And automatically you could force their hand and have them go to the outside of you. And as you guys get closer to that turn, if you guys can feel them kinesthetically, or you can hear them, or you can see them, right? You have to figure out what submodality you're going to use, right? Is it something that you see, hear, or feel? You can start moving over gradually on them, and then that way you're set up to take that next turn without having to take an inside line. Because sometimes if you take that turn on the inside and you're not that close to him and he's far out, he could take a more aggressive line, right? He could do an X pass. He could take a really, really sharp line and get under you really fast. So yes, at the end of the day, it's best to keep the competition close to you. Now, don't get me wrong. I think everyone's trying to gap the guy behind you, right? You're going as fast as you can for the most part, and as consistent as you can. Like, you don't want to go so fast to where you just blow up, right? You just blow up. Smarter choice. especially at, the higher rank that you go at from, from the intermediate to the expert, or even the higher level expert races at the nationals. Yeah, there's a lot of these kids are savvy at making moves. So you want to keep them really close and tight. Yes, ideally you would want to run away. And I think that everyone should try to run away, because you never know, right? You never know if someone's going to just straight up just go through that second straight or that rhythm section faster than you. So yes, you should be pinning it where you can pedal. I can go on and on, but I think that was a really, really good one. Thank you so much, Jason. Please forgive my pause. I'm just looking for questions. It seems like a lot of the community is just talking to each other and helping each other out, which is great, which is awesome. Andrew C. Andrew C. asked, when doing a low high, how do you keep good speed out of the turn into the next straight? Andrew C. asked, when doing a low high, how do you keep good speed out of the turn into the next straight? So a low high is pretty much taking an inside line going into the turn. And when you take a low line, by default, you're going to end up high in the corner. And so what he's asking is, how do you keep good speed out of that? I think it was a week ago or two, we talked about doing slalom, like basically setting up a real aggressive slalom course in a bicycle friendly flat ground, like a playground area, and setting up these cones and almost kind of like aggressive, mountain bike dual slalom type, where, you hit the corner and then you have to almost come all the way back to hit that next cone. I would set up cones and just practice accelerating, on flat ground, use flat pedals, but practice accelerating coming, as you round that cone, practice accelerating out of that turn. And because at the end of the day, if you want to maintain good speed when you're coming out low high and you're finding that you're not carrying as much speed as a guy that took a middle line, a rail line, you're going to need to work on training your body to accelerate, right? And so it's a positioning thing. It's a full body thing, right? Like, having more power is certainly going to help, but the technique of coming out of that turn and being in that position and cranking out, that's a really good one. I found myself being able to be low coming out of a first turn and be able to compete with guys that were railing just by practicing doing slalom work on flat ground and practicing accelerating, right? Because it's a technique thing. It's an awkward body position of leaning the bike and just trying to crank out as hard as you can. It's not like coming out of the gate and being in that acceleration position. It's a way different position because you're leaning the bike. It's not like you have your shoulders over the handlebars. You're more shifted back. So you got to practice accelerating in that position. That's a great question, Andrew. I love that. That's great. Thank you so much. I probably need to do a video on that. Aaron Greenreich says, gap them, you make an error that takes out some speed and then your lead is gone. Yeah, I think the best, sometimes the best offense is just playing offense, right? Like there's no need. Sometimes it doesn't make sense to defend, but I used to race a guy by the name of Bubba Harris, and man, he was really good. He was intimidating. He didn't have the best gait, but I had a really good gait, and I would get out front of him, and it was only a matter of when he was going to go by me because he was so aggressive. He was so fast. So, yeah, I didn't try to outrun him. Of course, BMX is funny, right? It's a bunch of micro races, right? Like, especially at the highest level, the races to the first jump, the races from the first jump to the second jump, the races to the entrance of the first turn, the races to the exit of the first turn. So, obviously by default, unconsciously, you're going to be going as fast as you can from obstacle to obstacle. The key is to make sure you're strategically racing with your head and, making sure that you're taking the best line and making it harder for the competition to go by you. My father always used to tell me, son, take the inside line. Why are you, there's no need for you to go wide in the corner and leaving the door open. make them go around you. And for the longest time, it was so hard. It was so hard for me to learn that and get through my hard head, because I was always caught up on, man, but it feels like crap when I come out of that turn and I'm going really slow, but what if the guy behind me rails? You know what? My dad was right. He wasn't going to be mad. Listen, I agree with him that, being older now, it's like, yes, I would rather have him outpower me down the second straight rather than just handing him the keys to the front door to pass me, right? I don't know if that answers your question, but I think at the end of the day, riding smart is key when it comes to BMX racing. Sometimes, most of the time, we do want to race with our legs, but most of the time, it's better to race with our heads. Gustavo asks, hey coach, my home track is closed Saturday through Wednesday, and the clinics are open practice. I'm still trying to learn on pumping. What would you recommend? I would recommend doing stuff at home, right? Like working on manualing, working on bunny hopping. Bunny hops is pretty much by default a pumping technique. Work on your bunny hops. That's what I would recommend if you don't have track access. If you do have track access, then yeah, work on your pumping there, obviously. Mark asks, is it better to pedal through the whole jump, or is it better to coast and then pedal? Great question, Mark. At the end of the day, I would say this. It's best to pick the line that you can consistently execute every time. Okay? Because I remember one time there was this race in West Palm Beach, and it was a really, really tall step jump, really, really steep starting hill, and a really, really tall step jump. It just came up into your face, and it was kind of short. So most people were jumping it, but they were over clearing it. And it sucked to over clear it. And I found myself, I was able to pick up for it, which was crazy, pick up and manual through it, which was way faster. However, I can only do that like 30% of the time. If I get the whole shot and I decide to pull that off in the main event, and I'm only doing it 3 out of 10 times, that's not a good ratio for me to try that, especially if I'm leading the main event. So I'm going to pick the most consistent line that I can execute every time, which is just straight jumping it. Yes, deal with overclearing it. Everyone else is going to be dealing with overclearing it as well, and hammer it home all the way to the first turn for the whole shot. So, you have to decide what is better given the context, right? But at the end of the day, you want to utilize the best line that you can execute every time. And that way you could focus on driving deep into the obstacle, making sure you get 100% out of each pedal stroke. Because if you're hesitant, like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this off, then your power into your pedals, unconsciously, you're going to start letting off the gas pedal a little bit. And you're not going to be applying as much power. And so, yes, I would pick the most consistent line. However, at the same time, I think, Mark, that it is good to practice both, right? Practice pedaling through, because you never know when there's someone that is pulling that off consistently every time and you want to compete with them. Sometimes you're just like, you know what? I'm going to go for the gusto. They're pedal manualing it. Regardless of me being able to pull this off, I want to pedal manual it and fight for the win. There's nothing wrong with that either. So definitely I would practice pedal manualing it. And at the same time, I'm okay with manual and then get good backside and pedal the backside, right? There's many ways that you could get more out of just manualing. You could, just by improving your manualing technique, like doing a tap manual, that's going to be faster because you're going to be getting way more velocity on the backside just by doing that technique. How are we doing on time? 6:20. So we got 10 more minutes. Time for 2 or 3 more questions. And I hear noise going on in the kitchen, so that means the oven's firing up. Food's going to be served. Let's see here. Gustavo says, okay, thank you. You're welcome. Here's a question here. Hi, Coach G. How do you get a stronger 1, 2, 3 out of the gate? I love this question. Not seeing your gate start, not seeing your acceleration technique. At the end of the day, it's really simple. Number one, you have to focus on your mechanics. Are you efficient? Are you efficient to where you're delivering your maximal power out of the gate? Number two, you want to make sure you're in the correct acceleration position with your shoulders over the handlebar grips, your head slightly tucked down, your hips aren't shifted back, but you're aggressive getting on top of the pedals. And that way you're limiting the delay in between each pedal stroke, okay? Mechanics and efficiency is a big, big thing that we focus on over here at BMX Training. If you guys want to improve your acceleration, then obviously doing sprints and then alternative strength training exercises in the gym are obviously always going to be king when it comes to developing your acceleration power out of the gate. Aaron, thanks again for showing up, man. I'm sure you got to run. You're probably going to head to the track or something. I like that the Seattle Seahawks got beat by the Rams, of course. Here's a question by Jason Chang. Is the power wheelie still useful in turns? I feel like I can cut sharper and be on the gas sooner than when I flow and follow the front tire. I don't know why I had such a hard time reading that. Is the power wheelie still useful in turns? I feel like I can cut sharper and be on the gas sooner than when I flow and follow the front tire. Hey man, if you can get power to the pedals, any way that you can get power to the pedals and you feel like it's efficient, then why not? Do some power wheelies. You know, I would just want to make sure that when you do a power wheelie coming out of the turn, that you're delivering maximal power and that you're in a proper acceleration position. So if you're forward and the front wheel's coming up, that's great. But I don't think you need to be back where your hips are shifted behind the seat and your hips are behind the rear axle and the front end's up and you're trying to put down maximal power, but you can't because you have to let off the gas because you're about to wheelie too much. I think if the wheel comes off the ground 2 or 3 inches, I think you're fine. As long as you're putting in maximum effort, then by all means, it's your choice. I'm not going to say no. I think that's great. Here we go. Gustavo has a really good question for us and the community. This may help you. You may find it may not. Gustavo asks, every time I am on a gate, I overthink about winning, then my hands shake. Do you know a way to prevent this from happening? Yeah, that's a great question. Number one, you're thinking about winning. That means maybe perhaps you just need to focus on the present moment and executing the start. Focus on what you need to do to get a good start, right? And so maybe perhaps it's as simple as focusing on the first light going off or the first horn going off and just reacting off that. Simplify your thinking so you can operate in the present moment. That's the key. Number two, listen, everything is state dependent. So there's nothing wrong with being nervous, but the more you're thinking about winning, it's making you more nervous. Now, being nervous isn't a bad thing because nervousness is it's the same physiology as being excited. And so you could reframe that and just like say to yourself, I'm excited to win. And then get back to the present moment and focus on reacting out of the gate. That's as simple as I can make it for you as far as coaching, in this context of a live video. There's certainly more ways that I can get you to be, in a more resourceful state. Because again, I said in the beginning, everything is state dependent. So I think for you, you need to figure out, when was the last time that you weren't nervous, but you were excited, you were powerful, you were whatever. Some of my athletes are like, for me, I like to be relaxed and focused and in the present moment. If I could do that, then I know that I can execute my best gate start every time. every time. A gate start that wins. So you need to figure out for yourself, the last time you won a race and you weren't nervous, what feelings did you have, right? What feelings did you have? Write those down. And then you need to access that state. You need to practice accessing that state specifically, trigger that state, be in that state, and you're going to find that you're not going to be so nervous, right? Everyone has one. I got to imagine everyone has one. Anyone that has one has been able to do it with 100% confidence where they knew they were going to win. They weren't nervous. They weren't scared. So you guys can tap into that and re-access that state. Anchor it and trigger it. Hot Rod BMX says, deep breaths, look down track where you want to be in turn one. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty simple as well. There's so many different ways that you guys can approach it. And you got to find out what works for you. Again, go back in time, go back to a specific time when you won a race and you weren't nervous. What did you see? What did you hear? What did you feel? More importantly, what did you feel? Write down all those feelings, anchor them, trigger them, get into that state. It works every time, man. It's really simple. Anyone can do it. If you could do it, man, if I could do it, you can do it. Cool. We got a few more minutes. I have there's a cool comment coming in from Ashton Brown BMX Racing. He says, a little off topic, but do you prefer the industrial supercross style tracks or the more retro 90s style tracks? Like 90s style retro tracks, like the one this past weekend in Black Mountain, which has been racing since the 80s. I love those tracks, right? Like they're just classic tracks. Like all the NBL tracks are all classic 90s tracks, like tracks like South Park, Orlando, Evansville. I don't know if Evansville's still around. Tanglewood, Akron. You know, here on the West Coast we have Santa Clara. Down here we have Lake Paris, which has been around. Even Kearney Moto Park, which is now San Diego BMX, down here in Kearney, which is an area of San Diego, is a really classic outdoor track, right? Yeah, man, I like classic tracks. I really do. Supercross tracks, you know, me personally, I think they're gnarly, man. They're gnarly. I actually have had experience racing on Supercross style tracks, and I'll admit, you know, when it was 2005, I think that was like, what was that, 16 years ago. Very, very intimidating. Very intimidating. I mean, you just fall out of the gate and you're just going fast, right? 28 miles an hour by default. Take 3 pedals and you're in the 20s already. And it's intimidating because sometimes, you know, you're not able, that speed awareness that you need to get over big jumps, man, it's so hard to develop on a regular 90s style outdoor track. But I like both. I think 90s style BMX racing with flat pedals, that was some of the best racing back in the day, you know, like dirt turns, right? There was so much more, I shouldn't say there was so much more action, but it just seemed like there was a lot more action, right? Especially turns that were just like really tall and banked, and there was all kinds of things going on, and you had to be on your tips and toes. You have to tippy toe through to make sure that your tires weren't going to slide out. You're getting me excited. I love that. But I do like the Supercross style tracks too, because they're very predictable in terms of like what you're going to get. Like you go to Rock Hill, you know exactly what you're training for. You know exactly the degree of the gate. You know the angle of the starting hill. You know every turn's going to be paved. So you could really focus on more strategy and more power, and you know you don't have to worry about, oh my gosh, you know, I hope the track is good, right? I wonder if they changed the jump. Like most Supercross tracks are, you know, they're soil tacked and they're ingrained, right? I like them. I like both. Well, cool, guys. Let's see. The Russian Potato, he showed up. My team went to the Winter Nationals at the Black Mountain. Andrew says, I just turned 15 this year. I'm 15 internet now too. Right on, Andrew. That's great. Isaiah says, hey, coach. Days Rock says Phoenix Nationals was fire. What do you think of maybe changing of the guard in the women's pro? Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's great when younger pros. I saw Cam Wood, Felicia's doing really well. Man, it's crazy, right? Like, I don't even know where to begin with this, but what I'm trying to say is that riders, man, when riders are breaking through, it's awesome. It's inspiring because they create this vision. They create this vision like, I want to compete with those guys. It's so easy to take the easy route and just say, you know what, I'm just going to be an influencer. I'm going to be an Instagram pro. I'm just going to try my best, and we see what happens. But no, it's awesome and inspiring. It's motivating when you see someone that says, you know what, I have a vision to compete with the Connor Fields. I have a vision to compete against Elise Willoughby, and they're dedicated to that. They're recommitted to that every day. They work on their craft. They work on everything, right? It's a beautiful thing as an athlete when you're able to just say, you know what, that's what I want. They're very clear. They're congruent with it. They know who they are, and they're going for it, and they're all in. That's awesome because it takes courage. It takes guts. It takes sacrifice. It takes commitment. And it's my hope that you guys are going to be able to do the same thing too, especially with the information I give you, is that you guys are on that same path where you guys are you guys have the courage to create goals, to commit to them, to recommit to them, to understand consistency matters, showing up matters. That's what these guys are doing that are winning. Listen, your window of opportunity, especially for you younger guys, is very, very small. So you don't want to, say, you know what, man, it's not for me. Listen, you don't want to be 30, 35, 40 years old saying, man, what if? I wish I would have gave it my all. Guys, if you guys have a window of opportunity to give it your all and be courageous to create lofty goals, to commit to them, to recommit to them, to understand that you need to be consistent every day to go after it, and have the courage to step up and model some of these guys that are winning, I think that's an awesome thing. You're not going to regret it, because that's, whether you fail or not, you're going to learn in life that you're actually stepping up as a human being, that you need to become this person of discipline, of sacrifice, of courage, in an effort to be the best, right? You're becoming a better person. So why not just go for it? Go for it, man. It's funny, man, in road racing over here in Southern California, it's really tough because, BMX, you guys are lucky, man. You guys are lucky because you guys are racing. When it comes to other disciplines in cycling, they're not racing right now. It's very much unknown what's going to happen, especially, domestically. So you guys are very lucky. Over here, you got guys in their 20s that are like neo pros. They're really, really good to where they can go from a domestic pro to an international pro, but right now they can't race. So it's like, well, you know what, man, maybe I'll just be a lifestyle rider or an Instagram pro, right? And it's like, you know what, like, in fact, like, I'm getting calls to be on teams, but man, I'm making more money being an influencer. And I think that's great. Listen, if that's, as long as you don't have any regrets 10 years down the road, I'd say that you need to take advantage of the opportunity that presents itself, right? So, anyways, man, that's a lot. And it's 6:35, and there's more questions coming in. I'm going to read through a few comments, but I'm going to be taking off here because dinner is ready. Jenny Gam says, how important is it for kids learning to spin smaller gears? We reduced my son's gears and notice his track speed has suffered. Yeah, you're gonna have to ask the local pro and get some feedback from someone that can actually see them, because I don't know how old your kid is. I don't know what the bike is configured with. There's so many variables. I really can't answer that. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Jenny, BMX is a sprint power sport. Power is strength times speed. The bigger the gear that you could spin, the more faster you're going to go. That's just the bottom line. The taller the gear, though, the more strength that you're going to need to come out of the gate to get the bike going. If you have a smaller gear, sure, it's going to be easy to get on top of the gear and easy to get out of the gate. But the funny thing is, you have to move faster. When that gear is small, you're going to have to move even faster. And so you have to find that happy medium. Have the local pro or the local hot amateur or whoever teaches clinics at your track help you out with that. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much. Man, I'm really grateful for the opportunity. If you guys found any value in this and you guys want more, make sure you guys check out, and you guys want to support me, make sure you guys check out bmxtraining.com. There is a free trial, 2-day free trial to check it out. I have so much more information to give you there. Lots of training plans, lots of tips, lots of tricks. You know, I always give you guys little secrets here and there, but over there I have training plans, so it gives you a step-by-step process on how to improve your track speed, on how to get a faster first straight. Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff, a lot of mental stuff over there as well. Again, I'm grateful for the opportunity to be your coach. Thank you guys for showing up. Make sure you guys share the video. And also, if you haven't subscribed already, support me by subscribing to the channel. And also, I'll see you guys at the races as usual. You guys have a great night. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next week. Right on, Charles. Ben Larson, thanks, coach. Cool. All right, guys. See you later.